Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Handling Transitions. If you've seen any of my previous posts or videos, you know that transitions is something that is a process. It doesn't just happen. It's it takes a little bit of time to transition from one thing to another. Change happens pretty much like automatic. You want to change your shoes, you get out, you change your shoes. If you want to change your hair color, I mean, it's pretty much automatic. You want to change your clothes. But transitions is a mindset shift. You have to prepare to transition. You have to prepare your mind, your thoughts, your bodies, your actions. Everything has to be prepared when you want to transition. So right now, I remember saying also in the previous videos that I'm going to be doing a lot of videos in the car. And I enjoy doing the videos in the car because when I get in the car, I have so many thoughts. And probably because I'm away from my home, I'm away from the TV, I'm away from the dishes, I'm away from my son, I'm away from everything that would draw my attention, distract me from my thoughts. So right now, I am literally in front of the house that I'm going to be buying. And the transition for me was 20 or 30 plus years ago. I don't remember exactly when it was. Probably more like 25 years ago. I used to live on this street. And I apologize if it's like a shadow. I don't, I tried to get it the perfect lighting, but sometimes these videos are unscripted. This is just me talking to you. So I've always knew that I was going to buy a house. I didn't know when, I didn't know where, I didn't know how. All I knew was every time I go and look at a house, I always compare it to a house that I lived in 25 years ago. So when I look at a house, I was like, okay, yeah, it's nice, but nothing ever really caught my attention like the house that I used to live in. So right now you're like, okay, what does this have to do with transition? Well, for me, I am in a major transition because not only am I back on the street where I want to buy the house, but I am in front of the house that I want to buy. Now, the crazy part about all of this is I am back in the city where I first started. My previous post was, I showed you a house where when I first came to California, the first church I went to when I was in California, when I came to California. And now I'm in front of the house that I want to buy. Finally, after 25 years of saying, I want this house, I love this house, I love the design of this house. And now my transition is coming full circle because the house is not even for sale. The house is boarded up and there's nobody living here. And there's no for sale sign, there's nothing. You can tell nobody has been in this house for quite a while. And I believe in my heart that this is my house. This is where I'm supposed to be. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm already transitioning my mind to move here. I'm already transitioning. Remember I said a change is something that happens suddenly. A transition is a process. So I believe that within the next 6 months, I am going to transition from where I live now to where I'm going to be living. And if you read any of my books, if you follow any of my posts on Facebook or Instagram, you know that a transition is something that happens in your thought pattern. It is something that you feel deeply and you transition to you start your mindset starts making way for that to happen. If you have a vision board and you say you want a business, you start transitioning from that thought pattern to start taking classes. Then you say, okay, what kind of business do I want? Then you say, okay, I need to get business cards. I need to start processing into a business. You want to get married. your boyfriend or whatever, he hasn't proposed yet, but you know that he wants to get married, you want to get married. So in your mind, you start transitioning into being married, from the single life to the married life. It's a transition. It doesn't just happen. A wedding doesn't just happen. It takes time to prepare a wedding. It takes time to buy a house. It takes time to build a business. It takes time to build wealth. It takes time. That is all transition. A transition is taking you from where you are now to where you want to go. And it always starts in your mind. That's why when you hear a lot of gurus talking about mindset, it's setting your mind on that thing that you want. Setting your mind on moving from this location to this location. Moving from being an employee to being an employer. Moving from being a single person to being a married person. Moving from being not being a mother, what is that? Single, not having any children to having children. That's a transition. You're given 9 months for that transition to happen. So right now I am in one of the major transitions of my life. I have a successful business. I've also transitioned from making a move from my older church to a newer church. And that was also a major transition because I'll explain that later. That's a whole different video right there. My transitions are, they're major for me because I'm constantly moving from where I am to where I want to go. And this, moving into this house, especially when there's no for sale sign, especially when there's nobody living in it, especially when I don't even know how I'm going to buy this house, because it's not up to me to figure out how. My transition, my mindset is like, I want it. And when you decide what you actually want, you start moving into that, and you start moving and designing and developing ways to make it happen. One of the things I put in my book is I never say I can't afford anything. Because when you start saying you can't afford something, your mind stops. So your mind is, oh, I can't afford it. So it dismisses it. But when you say, I can afford it, I can make a way, then the mind starts developing ways for you to make that happen. When you say, I want to start a business, your mind starts making a way to make that happen. You start drawing things into your mind to make it set. So if you are changing your mind, you are changing your mindset. So you're moving from the neighborhood of I can't to the neighborhood of how can I. So when you say I can't afford it, you've already decided, okay, you close the door. But then you say, if you want to change your mindset, then you develop ways. How can I afford it? How can I move? How can I make this happen for me? And you start drawing it to you. So as I sit in front of this house, I already know that this is my neighborhood. I already know that this is the house I am going to be occupying. I already know that this is my city, because this is where I've been drawn to. And I could have been drawn to Temecula. I could have been drawn to Hesperia. I could have been drawn to Victorville. I could have been drawn anywhere else. But for the past probably year, I have always said, I want my home. I want a home. I want a home that I absolutely love. And I've been in several homes. I have had several nice homes. But there's something about this home that has always been in my mind. And I honestly already see myself moving into this house. I already see myself entertaining in this house. I already see myself making friends with my neighbors. My mind is already set. So what I teach is for you to learn how to transition from where you are right now to where you want to go. So if you want to move in this new year, if I have an event coming up, and it's an event, it's called New Year, New You. It's time to be, have, and do. Are you ready? Are you ready to be, have, and do what you've called to do? Are you ready to be, have, and do everything that is on your vision board? Are you ready? Because sometimes you may not be ready. But if you are ready, then those things that you have, those things that you desire, those things that are ready to be manifested, you have to make room for those things. You have to get rid of a lot of the old. You have to set your mind on the new. You have to set your standards on the higher. You have to set your heart on the thing that you know is going to make you a better person. You have to set yourself up for success. It doesn't just happen. John Maxwell didn't just become successful. Jack Canfield didn't just become successful. There were mindsets that they had to transition into to develop those habits to become successful. That's what my books teach about. That's what this video is about. That's why I decided to get on YouTube, because there's a lot of women, and there's a plane going overhead. Oh, it's a helicopter. There's a lot of men and women that want to change. I don't know where you're going to be looking at this video from. You may be on your couch. You may be enjoying this video while you're at your friend's house. I don't know where you are, and it doesn't really matter where you are. But what matters is that you decide that I am going to change my mind. My mind is going to start looking at the things that I desire, the things that I want, the things that will make me and bring me joy for the rest of my life. And it could be becoming an author. You want to write books? Start writing a blog. Start making notes. Start a poem. Just start. If you want to become an entrepreneur, then you say, okay, well, what kind of entrepreneur am I? I'm a social entrepreneur. My mind has been set for business for probably the past 20 years. So I really don't listen to the radio. I don't listen to 92.3 or 107 or 104 or 103, or I really don't listen to a lot of music. I have some music on my phone, and sometimes I do listen to something. And most of the time it could be classical, especially when I'm in my car. But one of the things I do is I listen to podcasts. I listen to audiobooks, because I have, for the past 20 years, set my mind on business. I have set my mind on prosperity. I've set my mind on abundance. And because of so many different transitions that I've gone through, moving from another place, getting a divorce, and moving from being an employee to an employer, moving from obscurity, I guess you could say. Obscurity is my big word for this year. I don't know. This is 2020, with the start of 2020, and I keep hearing that word obscurity. And it feels like I am transitioning from obscurity to being well known. And that's a very hard transition, because for so many years, I enjoyed being not known. I have enjoyed being in the background. I have enjoyed being laid back. And now for 2020, it seems like my mind has been set now on moving out of obscurity. And it has been, it's been a long time coming, honestly. With my books, with my speaking engagements, with all the things that I have had set my mind to in the past years, it's all starting to come about. And right now for me, it's a little nerve-wracking because a couple of years ago, I went on Google and I Googled myself. And there was so much stuff about AlphaNet Maze on Google. I'm like, how in the heck did they get so much information on me? They had information from everything. When I started the business, when I got married, I mean, my addresses and all that stuff was online. I'm like, how in the world? So when you Google AlphaNet Maze, it's like, whoa, all this stuff comes up. And I thank God that it's all positive stuff, nothing crazy. I haven't killed anybody. I haven't robbed any banks. I haven't done any of that. But for this year, 2020, it seems like I am moving out of obscurity into notoriety. And it is kind of scary and it is kind of nerve-wracking, but I've already set my mind because I've already written books. I've already started speaking. I've been speaking for the past, I don't know how many years. I've already started that transition. So now when it happens, I've already felt the feeling of it happening. So now when it comes in, it just feels natural because my mind has already been set. Does that make sense? So if you want to be a part of our Handling Transitions tribe, go ahead and subscribe because I am going to be talking to you about transitions in health because I've had health issues in my life. I'm going to be talking about transitions in marriage and divorce because I've had that in my life. I'm going to be talking about transitions in friendships. I'm going to be talking about transitions in business. I'm going to be talking about transitions when it refers to lifestyles. There are so many transitions that we go through, but sometimes we don't know how to handle them. We don't know how to transition from when we lose a loved one. We don't know how to transition from when someone leaves us. We don't know how to transition from losing a child. I have never literally lost a child. I have had some instances where we'll talk about that later. I'm not going to go into that because that's a whole nother video also. But if you want to learn how to handle your transition, subscribe. And I will help you learn how to transition. And I will give you tips that I've learned from many gurus. Jack Canfield, like I said, Jack Canfield, John Maxwell, my friend Les Brown, Tamara Lowe. I mean, there's the millionaire maker, Laura Langemeyer. I met with her and I talked with her and I talked to millionaires. I've been with millionaires. I've seen how they work. I've seen how they get to be millionaires. And all this stuff that I have learned, I am going to be sharing. I'm going to be sharing through ebooks. I'm going to be sharing through physical books that are journals also. I'm going to be sharing through my speaking engagements. I'm also also a coach now. I'm going to be coaching in the inland empire. So there's so much that I have learned over the years that I want to help you learn and grow. And I want to help you change your mind. Does that make sense? Change your mind. What is it that you want to do? How are you going to move from where you are right now to where you want to go? And that's exactly what this video is about. Handling your transitions. Moving from the thing that you don't like about your life to the thing that makes you happy and joyful and gets you leaping out of bed, that gets you excited about your life. Are you ready for that? Are you ready? Is it time for you to be, have, and do? I'm going to be talking about this in the next year. So be a part of our tribe and subscribe. And I'll see you guys. And maybe I'll make a video when I move into this new house. I mean, it's actually not a new house, but it's a house that I want. So I'll probably make a video because I want you to know that once you set your mind, every time I decide to close, something else pops up. When you set your mind on something, It can happen. Don't let your mindset talk you out of the things that you want. It's time. It's time. Are you ready? It's a new year. It's a new you. Are you ready to be, have, and do? Join our tribe and subscribe. Alphanet Maze, I'm out.